Prabhupada. Dasodanandana Braja Janadandana Dasodanandana Braja Janadandana Yamunatira Manachari Yamunatira Manachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Vallabha Radha Vallabha Shri Radhe. Jaya Radha Vallabha Radha Vallabha Shri Radhe. Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladevaya, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Gauranita, Jaya Gauranita, Jaya Gauranita, Jaya Gauranita. Eta Gaura Haribal, 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 Eta Gaura Haribal. Jaya Vishnupad Paramahansa, Sri Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Sri Radha Ballabha Bhagwan Ki Jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Devi Ki Jai, Sri Gauri Jai Ki Jai, Jai Gaur Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This morning we're reading from the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 15, Text 35. Tatastad anubhavena bhuvanatraya vishrutam kirtim dikshu vitanvana sareja udarat iva. Tatastad anubhavena bhuvanatraya vishrutam kirtim dikshu vitanvana sareja udarat iva. Tatastad anubhavena bhuvanatraya vishrutam kirtim dikshu vitanvana sareja udarat iva. Vaishnavis? Word for word. Tata, thereafter. Tat anubhavena. Because of performing such great sacrifices. Bhuvanatraya. Throughout the three worlds. Visrutam. Celebrated. Kirtim. Reputation. Dikshu. In all directions. Vitanvana. Spreading. Sa, he, Bali Maharaj. Reje, became effulgent. Udurat, the moon. Iva, like. Translation. When Bali Maharaj performed these sacrifices, he gained a great reputation in all directions, throughout the three worlds. Thus he shone in his position like the brilliant moon in the sky. And there's no purport. We'll read text 36, which takes us to the end of the chapter. Bubuje chastriyam sriddam dvija devo palambitam krita krityam ivatmanam manyamano mahamana. Translation. Because of the favor of the Brahmanas, the great soul Bali Maharaj, thinking himself very satisfied, became very opulent and prosperous, and began to enjoy the kingdom. Purport. The Brahmanas are called Dvija Deva and Kshatriyas are generally called Naradeva. The word Deva actually refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Brahmanas guide human society in becoming happy by satisfying Lord Vishnu, and according to their advice, the Kshatriyas, who are called a Naradeva, keep law and order so that other people, namely the Vaishyas and Sudras, may properly follow regulative principles. In this way, people are gradually elevated in Krishna consciousness. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 8th canto, 15th chapter of the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, entitled Bali Maharaj Conquers the Heavenly Planets. So, we're coming to the end of the chapter in regard to this particular section. And here, as we read yesterday, the Brahmanas were very happy with Bali Maharaj. He surrendered, especially Śrīmad was the chief priest. They were descendants of Bhrigu, Bhrigu being the father of Śrīmad. And they instructed him to perform the 100 Ashvamedha Yagyas. And we were saying that it is quite well known that to occupy the post of Indra, that if one does many Ashvamedha Yagyas, especially Puranjana, our current Indra, he did 100 Ashvamedha Yagyas, so that because of that piety, and that sacrifice, and the chief beneficiary, of course, is Lord Vishnu, along with other devas. Lord Vishnu is the chief beneficiary, and that is a very... now, to organize such a huge yagya, there's many descriptions of Ashvamedha Yagya, that it's a huge affair. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Brahmana priests, experts in different sections and so on and so forth. Many different types of paraphernalia were required. It was quite costly. So one would have to... Generally this is performed, Ashvamedha Yagya is performed by the kings, and it would require a great amount of effort just to do one. Just to do one. But to do 100 is very extraordinary. But the Brahmanas were very concerned that Bali Maharaj, especially, they were empowering him, and so now he had gotten to the position, and they wanted to make sure that he continued to stay in the position. Now that's a sort of concomitant factor of life in the material world. It's hard to maintain anything. You can work hard and then you achieve something, but even to maintain it, actually it is said to maintain it requires more effort, especially over a long period. To destroy something takes effort, depending on how big and great that thing is. It takes an effort to destroy a thing, but it's easier than creating it. Creating it takes more effort, and then to maintain it, it is said, over a long period, that is the hardest. We know, as far as the modes of material nature, that Lord Shiva oversees the pralaya, the destructions of the universe, and the various times of the pralaya. And of course, Brahma, he is in charge of the creation, and Lord Vishnu, he is in charge of maintaining, because it's just the nature of the world. Everything has a beginning, has an end, it comes into being, and it deteriorates over time. So ultimately, we cannot maintain forever. And even to maintain for short time, what to speak of long time, is a great effort. So even positions, just like someone works hard and goes up the corporate ladder, for example, and attains certain position, one is always worried. Even attaining that position, who is going to challenge me for the position? And one is always looking further up the ladder to the next position, and so the poor one up the next step is looking down to the one who wants to come up, and so they're worried. This is the this is the position in the material world. There's always that extreme competition and challenge for progressing and maintaining and going higher. So one has to. There's always that, and it can become. Prabhupada used to say that, well, the Karmis have a saying, dog eat dog society. Dog eat, very descriptive term, dog eat dog. And climbing the corporate ladder, this is quite a popular term. I remember decades ago, there was one famous Lee Iacocca who became the CEO of Chrysler at the time, many years ago. And when he retired, he was interviewed, so what's your advice for up and coming executives? And he said this, the main thing he said, be careful who you step on the way up, because on the way down they're going to kick you in the head. So we do these things, just life forces us to be competitive, and sometimes very ruthless, and in Kali Yuga engage in many sinful activities to achieve what we want. We have so many desires. So there's always that challenge. So after great effort, Bali Maharaj, after he was killed and then brought back to life and then empowered by the performance of the sacrifice by Śrīmad, and he was empowered. Now even the demigods who were afraid, they just left. Being advised by Brihaspati, they just left the kingdom, and so Bali Maharaj marched in with his army. There was no one there. It was the Indraloka, it was all empty. So he just occupied the throne of Indra. But the one is always in anxiety about maintaining a position, because how long can you maintain? You're young and maybe strong, but of course just the nature of the world is that you'll become old, and when you become old you lose your power, and so on and so forth. I remember once there was one of our Maharajas. She was formerly a model, and she graced the cover of Vogue Europe, and so she was like a top model, and she was telling me actually the models are always in anxiety. And I thought, oh, that's strange, because they're supposed to be very beautiful. You think they would be very happy? She said, no, always in anxiety, because they're always aging. So their profession is going by the looks. So even at the young age, 20, 25, and even at the end of my time, even 25 is considered old. Because the younger ones are coming up. So I said even the models who have everything, beauty, and they have fame, they have riches perhaps, they're always in anxiety because they're losing their looks and others are coming up. And so that's just the nature of existence in the material world. As a human being or other species of life, sometimes you may have seen the documentaries on the lions. The big male lion comes up, defeats the old male lion, then he becomes old and the other new male lion comes and defeats him, and even he's killed even. So sometimes, so not sometimes, it was always like that in the material world. So to maintain a position, you have to take great effort. So here, the Brahmanas have advised, do this 100 Ashvamedha yagas. There's a lot of effort just to do one. And he is saying do 100. But nevertheless, Bali Maharaj, he was doing it, and he performed these sacrifices we read today, Tatsastat Anubhavena. He actually performed these Ashvamedha yagas, and he gained a great reputation in all directions throughout the three worlds. He shone in his position. He was brilliant like the moon. So here it is said that in all directions his reputation was spread. Now this is important, especially for leaders. Personally, as far as a devotee is concerned, we're not so concerned with reputation per se, because in the material world, everyone is after these things. Janmaishwara Shrutashi, everyone wants to be in a good family, high family, wants to be have a lot of money, wants to get a high education, and wants to be very beautiful and handsome. These things are very much desired. Wants to have fame, wants to have a great reputation, but it's all very self-centered and towards themselves, focused on themselves. And so they try very hard. So even if you have one of them, you come from a very high family, aristocratic family, you've got a lot of money, but sometimes someone may have a few of them together, maybe very handsome or beautiful, maybe also high education. If you can have all four of these things, that is a great achievement. So, and it's very important to people to try to achieve these statuses of life. So a reputation. So, but as far as making advancement on the spiritual path, humility is recommended. If one is too puffed up, then he will always be in anxiety. First of all, it's a false position. One is not. What has one got to be puffed up about? Our position in the material world is very precarious. We come into the world, we're born with nothing, and at the end of our life, when we die, we go with nothing. And the whole, at any point in the life, things can be gained and things can be lost. So somehow or other, along the way, we become very puffed up. Now, when you're puffed up, as I said, you think of yourself in a certain way. There's always someone going to come along and challenge you. So therefore, you're in anxiety. Therefore, you're always jealous and envious of others because you're insecure yourself, actually. Although externally, you're manifesting yourself as a strong man or a strong woman. But you're always afraid someone's going to knock you off your perch and take your position. So therefore, actually, all this is a symptom of insecurity. But nevertheless, people become proud. And when you become proud, you've got to commit offences to others just to maintain your position. So this is, so as far as a devotee always tries to be humble and avoid offences to others, whether it's other devotees or other people or other living entities, as far as possible. We don't want to do harm to others. So this is a great concern for devotees. We know I was just giving a class in Wellington about Lord Chaitanya and how he was travelling, and one Vasudev came to meet him, but he had the leprosy, but he was so overwhelmed by the presence of Lord Chaitanya, he was crying in ecstasy. But Lord Chaitanya came and he wanted to embrace him, but he said, "No, I've got the leprosy." But he still embraced him. Of course, his leprosy went far away. But then after that, receiving that great mercy from Lord Chaitanya, he petitioned Lord Chaitanya. He said that, "Now I've got your special mercy. I'm just a bit worried that I may become puffed up thinking I'm the special recipient of mercy over and above others. Over and above others, I'm the special recipient of mercy. I got the mercy, such and such didn't get the mercy." So he was worried about, I don't want to become puffed up. What should I do? Lord Chaitanya instructed him, you always chant the holy names of the Lord, always chant continuously, and you follow the principles very nicely, and associate with devotees and render service to others. Render service especially to the devotees, especially to the great devotees. Prabhupada actually in the second count of the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, one purport, he says if one wants to overcome pride, he has to humble himself and render service to others. When we're proud, we like to get the service. Let everyone serve us. Why you didn't serve me? I requested the extra pakura, you didn't give it. Why? Who do you think you are? As soon as someone says like, who do you think you are? Then you're thinking, who do you think you are? And it becomes like that. So sometimes they come, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? Well, I think both have got the misconception. We are humble servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So one has to remain humble. Very, very important. But it's difficult to achieve. So Vasudeva was instructed by Lord Chaitanya. We know that Lord Brahma, when he was concerned, he had taken the cows and the calves, and the story of Brahma came, and when the Krishna went off there was some of the calves had gone off to the side, so Krishna said, I'll go and get them. And so the other cows and calves were left unattended, or they were just there. And Brahma thought, let me just test this little Krishna. And so he took them. And so, we know the story how when he looked back, they were all there, and Krishna expanded himself to be all the cows and the calves, the cowherd boys, and so on and so forth. So Brahma was very amazed. Eventually he offered nice prayers to Krishna, and he requested, he was concerned about being puffed up. So he came back in the next life in a very humble position as Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur. And and always chanting the holy name of the Lord. This is very good. Always, Lord Chaitanya said the same thing to Vasudeva. Just always do the chanting, serve other great devotees, and then the pride will be decreased. So for ourselves, we're not interested in our prestige. Generally, people are after prestige. Prestige, as I said, is high family, a lot of money, high education, good looks. And this is prestigious. Everyone wants it. If you can have just one of those things, or even a little portion of those things, that is a great achievement. So everyone is after it. Fame, we used to, there was one devotee wrote a song, Name, Fame and Glory, it's the same old story. Name, fame and glory. Name, fame and glory. But everyone's trying for it. It's the same old story. So everyone's trying, but in the case of Bali Maharaj, the reputation. It's not, Bali Maharaj was humble, but for the leaders, reputation is actually quite important. Not so much thinking to enjoy the reputation, but to gain the respect and trust of those who are following you. You understand? And it's mentioned right throughout. Krishna tells Arjuna, do your duty, otherwise your reputation will be ruined as a Kshatriya, as a warrior. Arjuna at one point didn't want to fight, we know from Bhagavad Gita. So, but Krishna was very strong with him. No, your inaction will lead to infamy, and one who has been honoured, dishonour is worse than death, and you will lose your reputation as a warrior, as a Kshatriya. So Krishna thought it very important, and he emphasized it to Arjuna. And in many places we find that this reputation is emphasized. So how to understand this? So in one sense, on one side, the devotee doesn't aspire to have reputation and fame and all sorts of positions. The devotee wants to remain humble. But we see that sometimes Lord Ramchandra is glorified. His reputation went far and wide. The Supreme Personality of Godhead himself is sometimes praised as his reputation is far and wide. So why would great devotees, praise the Supreme Lord, Lord Rama, and so many others? Krishna himself brought it up to Arjuna about reputation, but because, as I said, especially those in leadership positions. One time Prabhupada said that the leaders can only lead when the followers agree to follow them. Very simple. So he said, someone asked him, how can we be good if we're in the position of leaders in our movement? How can we be good leaders? And Prabhupada answered in many different ways, but this one time he said that leaders can only lead if the followers agree to follow them. So therefore, one has to be thinking that I am the servant, actually, of all the others, and when those who are the followers see such a selfless mood and a humble mood, especially on the path of devotional service, they'll gain much respect for that devotee, and they'll have a lot of trust for that devotee. So naturally, very naturally, they'll want to follow. Now there are some big kind of dictator leaders. They're not so much worried about. They want to get the respect, but they want to force it. They do by force. They want to get the respect by military, by other economic, by so many different means. They are forcing people in so many ways to subjugate themselves to their leadership. This is going on everywhere, all over the world, not only in big positions of power, but just even in ordinary day between individuals. So, so this is not the sort of thing that a devotee is trying to get the respect and to be able to lead. Not in that way. So whether one is a political leader or religious leader. One time I went to Indonesia and there was a big article about this radical Muslim leader who was a cleric, and there was a picture of him with the Quran in one hand and a machine gun in the other hand. And the story, the headline underneath, he was saying that you follow this or you get this, pointing to the machine gun. Follow this, the Quran, or you get this. So it's not the way. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never did like that. By giving and distributing love of God, and people were inspired themselves. Everywhere Lord Chaitanya went, he was followed because everyone was so overwhelmed by his mood of loving ecstasy. In the mood of vrata for Krishna, that they were just overwhelmed by his presence, and by sometimes he manifested such ecstatic symptoms, dancing and chanting, and they would just follow him. So Lord Chaitanya showed the way by very naturally, by willingly, voluntarily. And Prabhupada, I remember one time here, he said that all these. I think it was a reporter, was it here? Or a reporter? No, well, someone said, yeah, there was a reporter. Maybe it wasn't in the temple room, maybe it was upstairs. But he said that all these disciples, I'm not paying them, he said. I'm not paying them anything. I'm not forcing them, but they're all following me because I'm giving the love of God, and because I'm giving in the mood of Lord Chaitanya, they're appreciating, and voluntarily they're following. So in that sense, it's very important for a leader, especially someone in the Kshatriya position, a king, to have the respect, because he has to govern over so many citizens. And so if the citizens have no respect, they have no trust, so on and so forth, it's very difficult for him to do his service. It just makes it more difficult, you understand? So in that sense, he's concerned about his reputation, and he wants to preserve his reputation, because if he knows his reputation is going to be diminished, then it's going to be difficult for him to do the service. But someone who's a humble devotee, not so much for themselves, but to do the service, he needs these things. Just like someone doing any service needs certain paraphernalia, and that's given by Krishna to us to use in his service. So the position of king, that is given ultimately by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Of course, some come up by their karma and abuse, but then they'll come down in due course of time. But someone who's a great leader and a great devotee leader, that position is very much, that is an empowered position by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So one is very careful as far as reputation, Lord Ramchandra. It just follows a great devotee. One doesn't, it's not that the great devotee has to try for these things. Just by being a wonderful, humble devotee, the name and the fame will follow you. But of course, if someone wants to praise, the devotee is not very eager to hear that thing, but for the service, the devotee accepts these things. So here, Bali Maharaj, he gained his reputation, increased more and more and more. We went right throughout the three worlds. That is a great achievement. You know, someone may know you in your immediate area, with around a few people, but who knows you outside of your house, or outside of Melbourne, or outside of Australia. But someone may be very famous around the world even, but who is famous throughout the three worlds? So that's a big reputation. And here he shone like the moon, very effulgent. He was empowered by the Brahmanas, brilliant as the moon in the sky. And in the next verse, and because of the favour of the Brahmanas, he was very satisfied that he followed their instruction and performed these sacrifices. So there's a certain satisfaction in following, especially respectable persons like great Brahmanas following the spiritual master. The disciple gains great satisfaction from following the instructions of the spiritual master. The satisfaction actually is enhanced from following. The more one follows, if one is actually devotee, the more one feels satisfied in following. For the materialists, they feel satisfied if they get more and more things for their enjoyment, and they feel very satisfied by that. Of course, that satisfaction is not very long-lasting. It comes and it goes. But the satisfaction one feels in serving the spiritual master in a humble mood, that stays eternally. One is very, very satisfied. And the devotee is very easily satisfied. Very easily satisfied. Just the simplest thing, does in the service of the Guru, does in the service of the deity, and so many different types of service. So very easily, just even the slightest thing, whereas the materialist, it's very hard to satisfy materialists because they get the gratification, but that gratification is always decreasing, and therefore they always have to search for newer and newer types of sense gratification and so on. So they're never satisfied. I had a friend, whatever he had before I was a devotee, whatever he had, we always called him Mr. Unsatisfied, because he got so many things, he was still not satisfied. You must be very happy you got that. You got your new car. And then I remember he got a new car. You must be very happy. Yeah, but I really wanted this car, but I had this other thing. And so Mr. Unsatisfied. So Mr. Never Satisfied. Mrs. Never Satisfied. You get that one thing, then you're wanting more. But you're thinking that one thing is the topmost. When you get it, you think, well, now I've got this, I could try for even more. So it never ends in the material world. But being in service to Guru, in service to Radha and Krishna, that is eternal. So that satisfaction is very strong. So Bali Maharaj was very satisfied. He followed very nicely. They requested, do these yajnas, and he did those yajnas. So he was very satisfied in the performance, in his position. And not only that, the result was his kingdom was very opulent and prosperous. So this is true intelligence, how to gain prosperity, how to gain real opulence even in the material world, even though it's temporary. Still, one can gain prosperity. The best way to gain prosperity is to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What that prosperity is more engagement in devotional service. Sometimes Krishna gives you a lot of material facility. He's like a father. If he sees a devotee is very humble and in need of certain facilities to expand his service to the Lord and help others come to the position, then Krishna may give so many facilities. There's one saying, if God wants to give you with your two hands, how much can you hold? But if God wants to take from you with your two hands, how much can you hold it? If God can give you, God can take away. So like a father, the child may say, I want more ice cream. The father might think, no, you had enough ice cream. If you eat too much, you'll become sick. Oh, you're a bad daddy, I hate you. You don't give me more ice cream. So the father doesn't give, but because the father sees the bigger situation. The child doesn't understand that they just want to enjoy. They don't understand if they took too much of a thing, they'll become sick. So the father, being more mature, more experienced, understands these things. So Krishna knows everything. So sometimes he's giving a devotee, sometimes he's taking away, but someone who's actually serious devotee will be humble and just whatever Krishna is offering and in the way of service, and everyone should respect that someone is being given a lot of facility for their service. Don't become envious. Maybe I haven't got as much facility as the other one. Don't become envious. Why has it got so much facility? Why can't you give me this facility the same as this one? Don't become like that. Everyone is given by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of God, and you have to become satisfied with what is given by the Supreme Lord. That thing is meant to be used by Him in Krishna's service. Don't become a little impersonal. I remember we had one devotee, and we had a centre in Cairns years ago, and there was a car we had parked at the temple, and we went out, devotees went out one day and looked for the car was gone. Searched all over, the car gone. Oh, someone must have stolen the car. Reported to the police. 1 month later, a devotee came back with the car. I said, what are you doing with the car? We reported to the police. Oh, well, it's all Krishna's. It's all Krishna's. I needed the car, and I had to go interstate, and I had to do a few things. So it's all Krishna's. So I took Krishna's car and drove off, and I brought it back. What are you going on about? This was the attitude. So we reported our car to the police. It was stolen. No, it was Krishna's, all Krishna's. So I always remember Prabhupada upstairs here, if someone asked him about how to see property, Krishna's property, he said, and how the individual utilizes Krishna's property and respects others. Others have got the property of Krishna and they're utilizing. He said, just like I have got this watch. I've got this watch, and everything is given by Krishna. So Krishna has given me this watch to use in His service. It's not for me, it's not for someone else to come. It's all Krishna's. Prabhupada, I'm just going to take that watch and I'll use it in Krishna's service. See? I remember the story when Prabhupada went to the devotees, when he went to Africa one time, someone was doing Prabhupada's laundry. Remember that story? And the next morning when Prabhupada was giving class, he saw that one brahmachari was wearing his dhoti, another one was wearing the kurta. They were just helping themselves. So we can't be like that. That's a little bit, that's impersonalism. It's all Krishna, it's all one. You know, that one's wearing the kurta, but I like that kurta, I'll just wear it. It's all Krishna's. We can become even very extreme while they're wearing it, to take it off and just put it on. It's all Krishna's. What are you concerned about? Well, we can say the same thing. I'm going to just take it back from you. It's all Krishna's. So this is all a nonsense thing, all nonsense attitude, a twisted understanding of what is the philosophy. We have to understand what is correctly Krishna's property and how to utilize it Krishna has given the property in the hands of someone, we respect that, and that person is using. If that person gives the permission, all right, yes, you can take it and use it, then that's the proper attitude. No problem. Yeah, so you will use it better than me, so you take it. So that's the proper attitude. Not we are disrespecting and we're just helping ourselves, saying, oh, it's all Krishna's. This is a kind of a Mayavadi concept. So all these things are a little bit subtle, how to understand it, how to understand reputation, how to understand name and fame. These things can be used in service, but one has to be very careful. One has to be very careful, one has to remain humble. Lord Chaitanya gave the instruction how to remain humble, accepting these things. Sometimes one is given a lot of facility. Many people give donations of this, that and the other thing, but how to utilize it and not become attached or not become puffed up for personal sense enjoyment. So that is a great endeavor, and remain humble, follow everything, and associate with devotees. So therefore, that is that tendency to become puffed up and attached is minimized, and one utilizes things in Krishna's service. And one does. I always remember the story. The Prabhupada tells the story of that. There was one yogi, and he was living in near the Ganga, and just outside Calcutta, and he was doing the tapasya, everything like that, and everyone was very impressed. They would come and pay take darshan of him, and pay. They would. And then they would come and they would want to give him donations, but he was, no, I want that. You give to Mother Ganga. You put over here. You give to Mother Ganga that donation. So all the people, they would say the same thing. You give to Mother Ganga. But some people were a bit suspicious of this one. So at night time, late at night, they hid. They hid. And they were hiding behind something. So they saw about midnight, when no one was around, that same yogi, he would go over to that place where the people were throwing their donations in the Ganga, and then they saw him pulling on a rope. And then he pulled up, and there was one big net. And that net had all those things that the people had thrown. He pulled up and he pulled them out. So, and he was specifically telling them, throw it there. Some people wanted to throw it. No, throw it in over here, this part of the Ganga. So one can make show, that's another thing. But nevertheless, if one uses everything properly, it's so nice. So thank you for listening to the Bhagavatam class. Just today also is the start of Margashisha. Yesterday, of course, was the end of Kartik month, and now is the start of Margashisha. The Margashisha month is the favorite month of Krishna, and we know that starting today, there's the famous story of the gopis who did tapasya and went and worshipped goddess Katyayani to have Krishna become their husband. So every morning they all gathered together and holding hands, singing. Early in the morning they would go to the Jamuna, and at the Jamuna they made one earthen form of Mother Katyayani. Katyayani is a form of Durga. Durga is said to have many different expansions. So Katyayani is one. It's one whole story of Katyayani. But they made a earthen murti of Katyayani, and they would worship Katyayani every day with sandalwood pulp, incense, ghee lamp, other offerings every day. They were worshipping, and they were following they would get up early in the morning. They did fasting. They would only eat havishyana. They would eat what we used to call gruel. Gruel means the khichdi, rice and the dal together, but no spicing, no salt, no nothing. We would call this gruel, havishyana. And I remember following that for Chaturmas a few times. There's all sorts of rules as far as Chaturmas. Actually, the leader at the time, Madhavisa, thought that everyone should follow this tapasya. I remember being up in Sydney, and we would just follow eating gruel, and like the cow. And so the cow eats with its head just bowed down. So the floor was cleaned very nicely, and then the havishyana, or the gruel, was just put on the floor. And then we would hold our arms behind our backs, and we would just eat like that. This was the tapasya. And then the rule was, if someone called you, if you lifted your, that's it, you couldn't eat anymore. Your breakfast is over. So I remember Lagudi actually was the one in charge. So everything was cleaned very nicely. I didn't understand about on the floor idea, but like the cow, I have to do like the cow. And so we were doing I remember, for quite a few months like that. And it's quite cleansing. It's quite austere. It's quite cleansing if you just have the khichdi like that, unspiced, unsalted, everything like good for the body. I followed it separately in Adelaide. When I was the temple president in Adelaide, I followed for 2 or 3 months one time. You can become very skinny if you want to lose weight. That's the way to do it. After a while, someone would make me the gruel and say, "Oh, it's ready." We got so tired. I think I'll skip it today. I'm just fasting totally today. But it's a great tapasya if one can do it. It's a very. So they were doing it. The gopis were doing it. They were just young girls, and they were following this thing, just eating just the gruel, and not other things. And every day they would do, and they did it for a whole month. Every day they would go down, and there's this one prayer. Of course, I brought it up here. They used to chant this one prayer to Goddess Katyani. Katyani Mahamaye Mahayogin Yadishwari Nanda Gopa Sutam Devi Patime Kurute Namaha Iti Mantram Chapantasta Pujam Chakru Kamarika. This is what they said. O Goddess Katyani, O great potency of the Lord, O possessor of great mystic power and mighty controller of all, please make the son of Nanda Maharaj my husband. I offer my obeisances unto you. This was their prayer. This is their prayer. Every day they used to go together and make that prayer to Goddess Katyani. And then after 1 month, they celebrated. They went bathing in the Jamuna. And of course, the section there for the ladies, they took all their clothes and went in. And Krishna, of course, being all-knowing, he knew their desire that they wanted him as the husband. It must have been a little hard for Katyani to fulfill all of it because they all wanted to have Krishna as the husband. I don't know what the thinking of Mother Katyani was. But anyway, Krishna solved the problem. He went down there, and we know the story, a very intimate pastime. And you can go there, what's called the Chirgat. Chirgat in Vrindavan. Some of you have probably been there. And I don't know, in my day, I haven't been for many years there, but in my day there used to be there was a kadamba tree still. Kadamba tree, and where Krishna sat on the kadamba tree. There used to be a murti of Krishna up in the tree there. I don't know if it's still there. But at least there's a Radha Krishna in the bottom. And there's Mother Katyani murti there is also there. It's a very nice place to go. I don't know if the Jamuna is nearby still, but anyway, so Chirgat. And so this was where the pastime where the gopis were in the water, and Krishna came along, all their garments, and Krishna stole all their garments and went up in the tree with them. And so they were standing in the water, kind of a little cold in there, shivering, and they said, "Give us our clothes. We can't come out until you give us, put the clothes and just go away." And as mentioned, actually, Krishna was there with some other little boys. He came there with the little young boys, 2 or 3 years old. So they were just young kids, so they couldn't understand the difference between male and female. So he didn't come with other boys, just him. And he was fulfilling their desire. He held the clothes. This is a little bit intimate pastime. Only devotees can really understand these things. He wanted to fulfill their desire, and then he refused to give the clothes. He said, "Just come out, then I'll give you the clothes." "No, put the clothes, go away, then we'll come out." No, just come out. So then they were getting colder and colder and colder, and so they had no option but just to come out. So Krishna, actually, the Acharyas explain, Krishna just wanted their full surrender. And then even he went so far as to say, "And offer you've gone into the Jamuna naked, that's offense. So now you have to your namaskar like this." So even they had to put their hands up, but they just surrendered to Krishna. And then, of course, Krishna gave the clothes. He said that, "I know what is your desire. I'll fulfill your desire." And the Acharyas explain, he fulfilled their desires by Rasalila, by dancing with them in the Rasalila. They came in the middle of the night, so the girls who do something like that must be with their husbands. So in a sense he fulfilled, not directly married them all, but he fulfilled the desire. So this is a very intimate pastime, not something we just talk about openly with outsiders, but for devotees it's a very intimate pastime, the full surrender of the gopis to Krishna. He fulfilled their heart's desire. So that was at the end of the whole month. So today, it is said, is the anniversary of the gopis, performing this tapasya, Katyani Vrata, starting today in the month of Margashish. I just mentioned that because I saw it on the calendar. So Hare Krishna, and anyone's got any question or comment? No question? Oh, one question.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the nice class. Maharaj, you had mentioned how to maintain a position in the material world can take a lot of hard effort, hard work, and anxiety. But sometimes we see we achieve a position at work or at school through our luck or by our hard work. So should we accept that position that we have achieved, or should we avoid it?
By our hard work, we've accepted the position. But for a devotee, is that what your question is? What's your question? Say the question, the last part again.
We achieve a position at at our school. So should we accept it because maintaining a position is like...
Yes, I mean, sometimes one may be requested as a service to others, some position or whatever the position. You're talking about school, are you? Yeah, well... but the devotee always remains humble. We have to do our duties in the world. We're devotees, and we have to do our duty, like we have to go to school, and we have to learn all the subjects. And sometimes in the school, we have to do other things that are not, that are requested by the teachers or offered to you. So it's no harm. One can be, but it's as long as you keep a humble position and you understand that all these things are by the grace of Krishna. So it's a question of attitude. It's a question of you can remain humble. It's all by the grace of Krishna. I'm doing something. I'm doing what's requested. They've asked me, so I'm doing that thing. Sometimes a devotee will not like to accept a big position because they're a bit afraid of becoming puffed up. And after accepting the position, maybe the devotee may become puffed up. Maybe they're seeing they're puffed up, or someone else may say, "Oh, you're becoming puffed up." So they may come down from that position if they think it's a disturbance to their advancement. But it's no harm to accept if you can remain with the right attitude.
Thank you.
All right. Any other question? Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. To your point about that it's important for a leader to maintain their reputation, I was thinking about how Lord Krishna, when he was falsely accused of stealing the Shamantaka jewel.
He was what?
He was falsely accused of stealing the Shamantaka jewel. The Shamantaka jewel pastime.
Huh? The jewel. Oh, Shamantaka jewel.
Shamantaka jewel.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, when he was accused of that, he took the steps to clear his name, and because his reputation was there was false rumors about it. But at the same time, he's also he's known as Ranachor. Like he left the like when he was fighting with Jarasan, he left as well. So in one sense, yeah. In a sense, it seems that Krishna...
So you have to understand each, particularly according to that circumstance of that Leela, Krishna didn't like he being accused of stealing, because others may say bad things about him, which would be bad for them. Krishna's unaffected by it. I mean, he doesn't need any Shamataka jewel. He's got gazillions of them. So he doesn't need any Shamataka jewel. He's not so disturbed by someone saying bad things about him. He's not so disturbed, but he's just disturbed as far as them, because he doesn't like to see that these situations are created and then all sorts of things can arise from it and then create a disastrous a consequence for those who are saying bad things. So therefore, Krishna or whatever leader, they're just very concerned about these things. And Prabhupada, I remember Prabhupada gave a lecture in the town hall, and there was a few people, I think personally, purposely in the front. There was many thousands of people came here in Melbourne. and they were being loud and rowdy. They were talking. Prabhupada was speaking, and they were talking loudly. Everyone else was listening, but they were talking. So at one point, Prabhupada was speaking. At one point, he stopped, and he said that don't create disturbance like that. And then sarcastically said, "Oh, you're supposed to be Guru and Swami. Why are you disturbed?" And Prabhupada, he answered very wonderfully, as he always does. He said, "No, I'm not disturbed, but you are disturbing the others. You are disturbing the others, and they came to listen to my lecture." So actually, spontaneously, many others say, "Yeah, Hare Bol," keeping these people quiet. They actually were disturbed by these people. So he said, "I'm not disturbed, but you are disturbing the others." So because it's disturbing the others, Prabhupada decided to stop and say something. Because of other people that come to listen, and they were disturbing. So the same thing with Krishna, that he was accused. He didn't like what the consequences might be of being accused. Not that he was affected, but therefore he took action to counteract it. And then in the difference of the ranch or that, you have to see each activity that Krishna does has a nice explanation and understanding to it. And very fortunately for us, they are great acharyas. Generally, they have presented so many nice explanations, deeper understandings of the meaning of those particular leelas and pastimes. That's right.